Hello, my sweet orchards. I'm Autumn, and this is my quiet corner for frontier storytelling. If you love Little House on the Prairie as much as I do, settle in and hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you kindly, and welcome to my homestead. Today we will be reviewing one of my favorite episodes, Mr. Edward's Homecoming. At the beginning of the episode, Charles is walking through the town of Mankato. He looks around to see what the town has to offer. He hears a bunch of commotion and shouting coming from one of the saloons. Someone throws an object through the glass, and it shatters in front of him. It startles him. He sees his dear friend Edwards. Edwards is a violent drunk. He's fighting the men in the saloon. There's a ton of them around. The men look at Edwards like he's a crazy psychopath. Edwards almost hits Charles, but Charles blocks his hit and calms him down. Charles is able to get his friend out of that saloon and help him sober up. Charles dunks his head into the river. This helps him think clearly and come to his senses. Charles tells him to come with him to Plum Creek so he can stay out of trouble. He mentions that Laura remembers him and he lights up. Charles puts him in the back of his wagon and he falls asleep on the ride back to Plum Creek. Charles unloads cargo to the general store. Edward spits on the ground and the spit falls on Grace's shoe. She gives him a dirty look and walks away from him. I hate when men do this. Spit in the tissue, not on the ground. Grace gives me the energy of a beautiful, God-fearing frontier woman. Laura is sick. She has problems with her tonsils. Caroline gives her medicine so she can feel better. She feels hot and tired and her throat feels sore. Jack lets everyone know that Pa is coming home. Carrie, Caroline, Mary, and Jack greet Edwards. He tells him how Charles helped him and he hugs Carrie. He is so nice and sweet to the children, especially Half Pint. Edward sees Laura. The two of them get happy and excited to see each other. She promises him she will take her medicine and get better. Laura says, I can spit as far as you can. Yuck, what a nasty hobby. Edwards gets worried about Laura because his own wife and daughter perished from smallpox. He sees a lot of Laura in his daughter. He has a lot of survivor's guilt behind this tragic incident, and it caused him to lose his faith in God. He drinks alcohol to cope with this loss. Charles tells Edwards, I will help you get a job and you can live here, and he agrees and works. Edwards lives in the attic space of the barn outside of the cabin. Edwards have dinner with the family. She makes a delicious chicken stew and fresh bread. Mary, Caroline, Charles, and Laura convince him to stay and not leave Walnut Grove. He stays in Walnut Grove. Charles says, welcome home. Charles reads the Bible in bed and he shares popcorn with Caroline in bed. Caroline makes plans to match Grace and Edwards together as a couple. The two of them are widows and could use some nice company. Edwards reports to work. He chops lumber and sings the Old Man Tucker song. He sees Grace walk by. He smiles at her, and she looks disgusted at him, rightfully so. The doctor makes a house call to see Laura. He says she's making progress, but she can't go back to school yet. As Edwards is cleaning his face in the stream, he notices a huge container. He puts some water in it and he drinks it. Hey, a man has to stay hydrated. Grace works at the Walnut Grove post office and she sees him drinking it and she thinks it's alcohol. Edward comes home and Laura runs to greet him. She tells him, "I feel better," and he gives her a bottle of lemon verbena. So she can smell like Mrs. Beale. Laura's obsession with lemon verbena needs to be studied. I love how Charles and Caroline's initials are carved into the fireplace. Caroline tells Edwards to stop by the post office to pick up a letter. She does this so he can get to know Grace. He stops by the post office after he drops Larry and Mary and Laura to school. Mary and Laura usually go by to pick up the mail, but she wants him to do it. The girls jump and skip to school with Edwards. He asks Grace, "Is there any mail for the Ingalls?" And she tells him, "You will have to get a letter of permission from the family members." Grace walks across the street to inspect the container that Edwards is drinking from. She smells it and she's shocked that it's not alcohol. Edwards catches her inspecting his bottle and she apologizes for assuming the worst in him. She says it's none of my business, but she's nosy as heck. The two of them share spring water. She goes back to work. Mr. Henson says, "I didn't know Grace drunk." And Edward says, "It's always those quiet ones." Edwards comes home. He's happy singing and skipping. Caroline is happy that her plan to get them together is working. Caroline and her daughters go to church. The Reverend talks about one of his church members drinking a quart of alcohol a day for medicinal purposes. This man is messy. Caroline and Grace talks about how much they love Sunday church service. Caroline invites Grace to dinner. She says she can't, but she says Edwards is looking forward to see you, and she still declines. Laura says a prayer over the dinner before they eat supper as a family. Laura tells her father about the drama in Sunday school. Edwards takes notes. He gets a nice idea. I think Edwards is illiterate. The poor man can't read and write. Laura helps him write a letter. He pays a penny to have the letter mailed from Mankato to Walnut Grove, the same post office that he lives in. The delivery man is frustrated by this peculiar request. Bring back handwritten letters in old school dating that doesn't involve sexual activity. Edwards loves to sing the Old Man Tucker song. Henson tells him he's proud of his hard work and he is happy he employed him. Edward stopped by the post office for the letter. Grace is wearing a beautiful butterscotch yellow blouse. Edwards has a wonderful sense of humor. He's reading a blank letter in front of the window and he's laughing like it's a 3-page letter from his best friend. This man is sweet and hilarious. Edwards asks Grace would she love some spring water and he invites her to dinner. He says, "I'm going to be in a whole heap of trouble if you don't come." She says yes. Edwards comes back home singing. He has Grace with him. The two of them had a nice dinner with the Ingalls. After dinner, the two of them dance outside with Caroline, while Charles plays bluegrass music with his fiddle. I love bluegrass music. It is so comforting and healing. The next day, Charles and Grace went fishing together. He told her about the drama that happened at Laura's school. Grace and Edwards meet up to have a drink of spring water. Grace invites Edwards to dinner. She tells him we can go fishing after church. Grace says we can go together to church together. He says, "No, I'm not going to church," and she gives him a dirty look. And she says, "Surely, you can't mean that you don't believe in God anymore." Edwards tells Grace that he doesn't believe in God, and she says, "Surely you can't feel that way." Grace tells him she can't go fishing. I can tell Edward's feelings are hurt by her harsh judgment. Caroline sees Grace near a general store. She invites her over again and she says, "I can't come, sorry." Grace would have reacted much differently to Edward saying he doesn't believe in God if he would have told her about his wife and child dying of smallpox. But he never mentioned this to her. Edwards packed up to leave because of Grace's harsh judgment towards him, but he lies and tells Caroline he's leaving because there's no saloons in town. Caroline convinces him to stay with her family because she sees him as family and she loves him like a brother. He tells her, "I will be gone before you come back from church service," but he decides to stay. The Ingalls go to church and Edwards shows up. He sits next to Grace and they sing church hymns together. Moral lessons. Redemption is possible for anyone. Even someone who has fallen on hard times like Mr. Edwards can turn their life around with love, trust, and opportunity. True friends see the person, not mistakes. Charles saw Edward's worth and treated him with dignity even when others judged him. Kindness can reunite self-worth. Simple acts of compassion can help someone believe in themselves again. Pride can block healing. Edwards initially resisted hope because of his shame. Humility opens door for change. We all need a second chance. Life's hardest seasons don't define a person's worth forever. Hard work rebuilds dignity. Purposeful work can restore confidence and independence. Compassion is contagious. When one person steps in with empathy, others are more likely to follow. Don't judge someone by their lowest moment. A person's worth isn't determined by their hardships. Forgiveness heals more than punishment. Offering grace often changes people more deeply than condemnation. Community is a safety net. Having people who care and love you can pull someone out of despair and back into living and thriving. Grace saw more than a worn coat and tired eyes. She saw the man underneath, the man worth loving. In her own quiet way, she reminded us all that real love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about standing beside them while they become the best version of themselves. Mr. Edwards' homecoming reminds us that no matter how far someone has drifted, love, patience, and acceptance can guide them back. It's a gentle truth worth remembering that grace given freely has the power to heal hearts, restore dignity, and turn strangers into family. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give is simply saying, "I love you and we can get through this together." Well, that's all for today's journey, my sweet orchids. Until next time, again on the prairie, may your days be peaceful, your heart be light, and your home be filled with love and kindness. Thank you all for stopping by. I'll see you next time.